I had a couple hours free once again at work today, so I managed to finish the second play in the Orestia by Aeschylus. Orestia by Aeschylus. Thank you for somebody in the comments section of the previous video for teaching me the correct pronunciation. Hopefully, I'm getting it right, and hopefully, I'll remember to use the correct pronunciation. Sometimes, when I get the wrong pronunciation stuck in my head, it takes a little bit of practice to correct that. So, if I slip back into bad pronunciation, forgive me. Anyways, I gave some background to this in the previous video, and I don't want to repeat myself too much, so I'll try and just summarize this briefly. This is the trilogy of plays by Aeschylus about the murder of Agamemnon and then how Agamemnon's children get their revenge on his killers. So, some spoilers alert here, but again, my understanding is that for Greek drama, spoilers didn't matter because there was an assumption by the playwrights that you were already familiar with the story. So Agamemnon was the leader of the of the Greek forces during the Trojan War. But when he came home from the Trojan War, he was killed by his wife, Clytemnestra, and his wife's lover, Aegisthus, uh, and leaving his children, who are Orestes, his son, and Electra, his daughter, to avenge his death. Now, his children are caught in a dilemma here because they have to avenge his death, and it sounds like Orestes has been straight out told by Apollo that he has to avenge his father's death. That is his duty as his son, or else he's going to get tormented. But his father was killed by his mother and his mother's lover, but that's not the problem. The problem is his mother. So if he avenges his death, then he'll be killing his mother, and then he'll be committing another crime against nature. So I guess it's a classic damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. If he doesn't avenge his father's death, that will be a crime against nature. But if he avenges his father's death and kills his mother, then that will be a crime against nature. So this is the second play of a trilogy, and my understanding is that each play was performed separately, or although I could be wrong about that. Were all three plays performed on the same night? I don't know. It's a little bit unclear from Wikipedia and from this volume. The play name here is some Greek word. Who knows how you pronounce that? Choephori. But it's apparently often translated as the libation bearers. And the libation bearers, I guess these are the funeral libations or libations for the dead that Orestes and Electra are bringing to Agamemnon's grave, where they meet each other. And as always in a Greek play, there is the chorus. Now, the chorus in the previous play was, I believe, the elders of Argos. Here it sounds like the chorus is the Trojans. We Trojans. It sounds like they're the Trojans, huh? So I guess the identity of the chorus can change from play to play. And I guess this is Trojan captives that have been brought over to Argos following the end of the war. Now, for at least half of this play, if not more, it's just Orestes and the chorus and Electra bemoaning the fate of Agamemnon. So in this edition, it's we start on page 49, and the action doesn't really start to happen until, where is it? Yeah, page 69. So page 49 to page 69, the first 20 pages, I think the majority of this play by far is this them just people standing around, Electra and Orestes standing around and talking about how cruel it is that Agamemnon was slain. So I'm sure there's some value in the poetry and in the philosophy maybe of these lines, and maybe somebody who is smarter or deeper than me could get more out of it. I admit when reading this to getting a little bit bored, forcing myself to pay attention. And yeah, I mean, I guess this is the thing with reading a Greek drama, I think. Take me with a grain of salt because I'm new to all this. But I think it's not so much the plot. Because there's not so much plot here. It's more just the emotion of it, the characters giving emotional speeches about their state. But then the plot does finally kick in near the end of it. So Orestes and Pylades. Now, Pylades, I actually didn't know who he was, so I had to go to Wikipedia to research him. And Wikipedia's got an interesting article on him. He has a few different adventures, but I think one adventure is here with Orestes killing Aeschylus and Clytemnestra. The other adventure is going and attempting to kill Helen, and then when they fail that, kidnapping Helen's daughter, Hermione. And another one is going to find Iphigenia and Tartus. And all of those seem like they'd be interesting adventures. Those are detailed in other plays. But in all of these, he's always the companion of Orestes. So I don't think he has any adventures on his own, it sounds like. But anyways, they arrive dressed as travelers. So Orestes and Orestes had been sent away, sent out of Argos when his father was returning. So his mother made up some excuse, but the real reason was to get him out so that they could murder his father without any interference, and then seize power and run the city as king and queen. So he comes back and he disguises themselves as, how do you say that, Phocians? I guess that's some other Greek city. And because they are travelers, they have the rights of hospitality. Now, this again reminds me of when I was reading the Odyssey, and there was such a huge emphasis made on the Odyssey about how travelers have to be entertained and they have to be put up as guests. It strikes me as a little bit of a strange custom in the ancient world, right? I mean, you certainly wouldn't do this nowadays. Somebody you didn't know came knocking on your house, you'd be like, who are you? Go away. You could be some crazy person or a murderer. And in fact, ironically, in this play, they are actually murderers, avengers. But it also strikes me as a system that could be taken advantage of by beggars or maybe otherwise shiftless people. But I guess this was the custom. Whenever travelers come through, they're entitled to hospitality. And Clytemnestra is very proud of the hospitality that they offer here to the travelers. And Orestes and Pylades, even disguised as Phocians, are expecting that hospitality, which I guess is their right to be granted. So they pretend that they have a message that Orestes was killed. And Clytemnestra is, of course, the mother of Orestes. But the nurse says that she's not sad by this news. So her eyes through the mask were nothing like mourning. Nay, they blazed like joy beacons at what had befallen. So we would expect Aeschylus, who's not Orestes' father, who's the usurper, to of course be glad at the news that Orestes is dead. We wouldn't expect the mother to be glad at this. But that's the report that we get from the nurse. But of course, Orestes is not dead. He's disguising himself. And then he meets Aeschylus, the person who killed his father and has been sleeping with his mother. And I mentioned this in the previous video, but there must be some rule in Greek drama that you can't have any violence on stage, because everything happens off stage. So he exits, and then he gets killed off stage, and there's a stage direction here. A cry from the palace should be identical to the cry of Agamemnon. I wonder, were these stage directions in the original Greek? I mean, do these stage directions themselves come down to us from 2,400 years ago? Were they written in? I guess maybe they might have been. Huh? I don't know. But he dies and he cries out, "Ugh!" And this is echoing what happened in the previous play. Let me see if I can find it, where Agamemnon was killed off stage. And yells out, "Ah!" So I don't know if this is a translation thing, but actually you can see here it's actually not the same. This is "ah," and this is "ugh," even though the stage directions are that it should be the same. Okay, but leaving that inconsistency aside, apparently it's an identical cry. And then Clytemnestra comes out and is confronted by her son. And there's a rather... She pleads for her life with her son, which is a very emotional exchange, or at least it has the potential to be, right? So she says, "I want to grow old with the son these breasts fed." So she points out to her son several times that he was nurtured on her very breasts. Now, I guess the emotion of the scene is undercut by, first of all, the detail we get from the nurse, that she appeared to be glad when she first heard that her son was dead. And then, second of all, the rhyming scheme, at least in my mind, takes away from the tragedy. I just, maybe this is just me, but as I'm reading this, I just can't help but just feel the rhythm, right? I want to grow old with the son these breasts fed. My father's murderous eating my bread. The she-god of fate, son, she played her part. The same she-god then drives my sword through your heart. Now, granted, you don't have to read it with that kind of sing-song rhythm, but in my own head, when I'm reading through these lines, that's what I tend to default to. So that undercuts the emotion of it a little bit, those two things. One, which I guess is part of the play, and the other, I guess, is just part of this translation. But again, because there's must be some rule against violence on stage, they take her off stage, and then she's murdered off stage. So now we have two people murdered off stage, a man and a woman, which directly parallels what happened in the previous play, where Agamemnon and Cassandra were both killed. And if the parallel wasn't clear enough, the stage directions, which again, were these stage directions in the original play? I guess I'm assuming they were, maybe. I don't know what the conventions were for stage directions were in ancient Greece, but the stage directions make it very clear. So the tableau repeats the stance of Clytemnestra over Agamemnon and Cassandra from the previous play. So now, Orestes has completed the deed that the gods, Apollo has driven him to. He did show some hesitation to kill his mother. So when he first sees his mother, he says, "What shall I do? Shame, pity, awe, all make me shrink from killing my mother." But his cousin Pylades urges him on, and also reminds him that Apollo has sworn him to this. He has to avenge his father. So he's done this, and he's now worried that he's going to be tormented because of this crime against nature he has committed. So I go as a wanderer, exiled from my birthright, living or dead, I leave you in memory. Now the chorus tries to convince him that he did well. He had to do this. But this is an interesting. I'm new to this whole thing of Greek drama. I had kind of thought maybe the chorus was like an existential voice who kind of knew everything. But in this case, the chorus does not know everything. He can see that the Furies are coming after him. So the Furies are like these gods of vengeance who pursue people who have done unnatural or unholy things, like killing your mother. The Furies are coming after him, and the chorus is trying to convince him that there's no such thing. So it's the fresh blood on your hands makes you feel. It's only the blood frenzy. The touch of Apollo will set you free. It's in the previous page. It's nothing. It's all in your mind. But he can actually see them. And presumably the audience can as well, because it says, "Exit Orestes pursued by the Furies." Now, it never actually says, "Enter the Furies." So I guess we're missing the stage direction where they come in. But here he's being chased off by them. So now he's fulfilled the vengeance of his father, but he's going to be tormented now by the Furies. And I guess that is going to set up the third play in this trilogy, which is what I'll be reading next. So, I don't really have a lot to say about this. Well, I guess I just talked for 18 minutes. Obviously, I do have some stuff to say about this, but I don't really have anything insightful to say about this, other than just recounting that plot and recounting the reading experience. Again, maybe somebody deeper than me will no doubt get more out of this. But that's my report on the second play in the trilogies. And now on to the third play next.